Hey guys, welcome to another video. I'm going to do this video on a theme that I developed here for our company. And this is a WordPress theme. And with this theme, I went through and, been doing some research on Webpack and stuff like that. And so what I ended up doing was creating an asset pipeline for this WordPress theme. It used to be in Gulp, but I switched everything over to Webpack. It seems to be working great. And then here in this assets file, this is kind of where we do all of our, CSS work, our JavaScript work, our images, and then kind of the font directory here. It's still in active development, so it's very, very new. We just updated it about a month ago. And we're using it on every project that we're using, so feel free to use it as well because it is open sourced. And I'll be sure to put in the licensing and all that once I get it kind of squared away. The cool thing is it supports Sass, and out of the box is kind of built with Bootstrap. So you can kind of start off with a Bootstrap theme for your website. JavaScript, it does ES6 compiling, so that's kind of cool. For images, it does image optimization. So any images you put in this folder, it'll optimize those images and push them over to the assets folder. And then the same thing with fonts, and I'll show you how all that works. So the best thing to do whenever you're doing this is download the project. So I'm going to download this zip file here, and then it seems like I've already downloaded it, so I'm going to take some time to do that. And then I'm going to go to a project here that I've been working on here, and we have a theme that we're going to be using for this one, and I already have it in HTML. So I'm going to drag that over here to Sublime and open that, and this is all the HTML for that theme. So it's like what I'm going to do here is, here we have HTML, and I'm going to wrap it around this Echo theme that I have. And then here inside of public, we go to WP Content, Themes. I'm going to go ahead and delete this folder, and we'll just use the one that I just downloaded. We'll go to Downloads folder, go to Echo Master, and open that. And I always like just calling this Echo instead of the name of the branch, and put it in here. So the next thing we're going to do is inside of our terminal, we're going to go to that project, and we're going to go to public, WP Content, Themes. Let me see, make this bigger for you guys. CD, public, WP Content, Themes, and then Echo. So the first thing we do here is notice that we have a JSON file already. I mean a package JSON file. So it has all the libraries that we need to kind of make this theme work. So what you want to do, and make sure you have Node installed, you want to do npm install, so that way it installs all the dependencies here. While that's installing, I'm going to go over here and go into the dashboard, and I'm going to make sure that I have that theme selected here. So I go to Themes, and then here's the Echo theme. Obviously you can change out the screenshot if you want to. That's just our branding. And then here's kind of the core, you can see WordPress here. Let's see if this thing's installed yet. So as it's installing, I'm going to open up Sublime with this theme and go CD projects, the name of the project, and then I go CD public. I'm going to open that up in Sublime. Let's check to see our install is going. Still going. There's a lot of dependencies for this. There's a lot of stuff that kind of gets this to work, but once it's all installed, it works beautifully. While that's finishing installing, look at the Webpack. We got some stuff here that kind of helps us. Some of the other cool things here are stuff like this Babel loader. I've showed you that. This extract text plugin. It does stuff with if there's extra CSS that's not being used, then it will remove that CSS. And the other thing it does cache busting. So here, this CSS right here will do a name, and then whatever the hash is for that. If there's any changes that are passed beyond that, we're keeping track of that. So here in the assets, you'll see there's a manifest JSON file, and this manifest JSON file gets updated with whatever the new record for that is. So it says, hey, if this app, whenever you're referencing app, then the app is, here's the new JavaScript file. What about CSS? Well, here's the new CSS file and stuff like that. If we look at our functions.php file, notice that most of this is kind of pulled from the 2017 theme, and I'm still modifying this, but it still works, so feel free to use it. I have a function here that gives me the ability to pull these tags out. So I have this function here that gives me the ability to pull these this manifest right here. So this manifest here says if I go to app, then you're gonna go to this JavaScript file, but for any reason that it gets updated, the system will update this file name in this manifest, and my functions.php file reads that. Actually, the helpers.php file reads that. So here I pull that content, and then I do some stuff to separate it out and pull it out, you know, for use in our theming. If we go to the functions.php file, notice here when we go to the assets part of this, the script right here, enqueue scripts, it says get template directory, and I should change this up. Here I say latest media JavaScript, and then here I say latest media CSS. So this is using that function that's inside the helpers, and then loading whatever is in that manifest, so that way it does cache busting as well. So that's set up for you. There's still some cleaning up that I'm going to do there. So outside of the box here, we should have everything already loaded. I'm going to go to the projects and the project name of the file that I'm working on. And I already have a theme that we're going to be using for this. I'm going to take all of the CSS right here, and then I'm going to put it in our resources, assets, and then I'm going to put it inside the SAS here. And we'll put it in a new folder. We'll just call it CSS or something like that. And then JavaScript, I'm going to pull all of those and put them in the JS folder. Now there's two mains, so I'm going to keep both. We'll call this one main theme. Images, img, put them in there. And that should be it for now. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the index.php file, and then I'm going to open up their file here. And what I tend to do is I'll break this apart depending on what we need. So here I'll use all of that as the head. I'm looking for the header. There's the header, and there's the nav. There's this main slider right here, and that can go on a front page. So we'll do that. So what I'm going to end up doing is right here I'm going to break this up, and that's going to be the head. So there's the head. And go to header.php, place that there, and then I'm going to pull everything over that I need for WordPress. So I'm going to pull this over. So we'll have to figure that part out. Actually, this goes in the here for the language attributes. Just like that. Copy all of this, even the WP head. Inside of here. Okay, so I don't need this this stuff. Actually, I should have put this here. Meta, blog info, char set, description, author. So So that's all of this, and we don't need a title here because WordPress manages that for us. And I'm going to move this right here to the top. Okay. And then we got all of this. This should probably be up top too. That right there. JS file. We got a shiv here, and we got a shiv and respond here. So I'm going to keep these since these are going to a CDN, and we don't have to host those files. So that should do it for the header. I'm looking through here to see if I forgot anything. This class right here. Body class right here. And I'm going to remove this home page. I may need to add it back, but we'll see. That's that, and then I'm going to remove the rest of this. So you saw how easy it was just to kind of replace all of this. Later on, I'm going to have to put the nav back in here and make sure that it meets those standards. Actually, let me just move this over for now. The other thing about this theme is that we have the Walker class for this theme, so that way we can have Bootstrap drop-down menus. So looking through here, this collapse navbar right, collapse navbar, collapse and then navbar right. So I should put this class here, and then this is navbar. I should put that here, and that should pick up those changes. So I'll go ahead and get rid of this for the navigation, and then I could get rid of the rest of this. So there's our header. That's the header, and then the next thing I'll do is I'll go through here and I'll pull, this is going to be the slider, all of this all the way down to the footer. So we'll look for that. And that'll be the footer. I put a lot of returns here to kind of give me some visual break here. There is PHP code in here, but I can always reference a theme again to get it back. So I'm just going to leave the footer, and I'm going to leave the header, and I'm going to replace all of this with the code that I got. And then every section here is going to be replaced with code or active advanced custom fields. So there we go, and then we're going to pick the footer. Where's the footer? Okay, we'll go over here to the footer, and the footer is the rest of this stuff right here. And notice I'm carrying over the JavaScript files and all of that stuff, but then those are going to be worked in through the asset pipeline here. So it doesn't look like I need much here. There's some nav menus and things like that. So I'm going to replace all of it. The only thing that I'm going to do is do a footer here. Footer, and this of course is where we're going to hook into. Okay, so that should do it. So we go over here to our project. You should see some shape kind of coming together here, as you can see here. And this takes some of the Bootstrap theming here. The HTML file that I downloaded is Bootstrap. It is a Bootstrap file. So here we're going to have a partials. I think the easiest thing is probably to maybe copy and paste the SAS file, or we can try to include it inside of here with this. So here we see there's Animate, there's Bootstrap. I think the easier thing that's going to help us here is if I go to the header file, header.php file. I look right here. These are all the style sheets that are in the theme itself. I'm just going to copy those for now. Go over to the CSS file, and I'm going to paste them down here so I know what order to load them in. So here with this theme right here, let me show you real quick. Let me take this out. In our package.json file, there are several commands that we can run. We can run just npm run dev, and that'll run the webpack, or we can run the npm run production, and that'll actually run the production code for this in production mode. And what that does is that actually minifies the CSS and JavaScript. Or we can run watch, And run watch is usually what I use for development here. So let me show you how that works. We go to, we're already here in the theme. Now that we have everything installed, I'm going to say npm run watch. And then it's just going to be kind of watching for file changes here in the JavaScript and the CSS. So right here, notice here we got attached variables, we got Bootstrap, we got some of this other stuff. So you can attach any CSS, any Sass files that you want here. If I go to variables here, variables, this is for these are variables for Bootstrap. So you ask where this kind of comes in play. If you go to Bootstrap right here, go to customize, less variables. These variables, now this is all in less, which is another CSS compiler. So I'm using Sass for this. So you can do, like, let's say navbar, and you can see how you have navbar height. Well, it has an @ symbol there. Well, in Sass, it's the same thing, but it's the $, as you can tell. I already have it in there. So like this is 60, and you can tell we go over here and it's compiled, and the navbar is 60 height. But let's do something like this, and we'll say that this is like 100 or something bigger. And notice what happens to the navbar. See how it gets bigger there? So these variables, a lot of times what I'll do is whenever I'm going through theming a new project which doesn't have any HTML or CSS, like I didn't go get a template, what I'm doing is I'm creating it from scratch. I use a lot of these variables to kind of get what I need, or closer to what I need, before adding any new CSS to my files. So we'll go ahead and mark that back here. What we're going to do is load the CSS here, just like that. So I'm not going to need any variables here, so I'm going to close that, because they have everything that they need in these CSS files. So I'm already loading Bootstrap, so I don't need that. I'm already loading Font Awesome, so I won't need that. Media queries and all of this, I'm just going to comment them out for now. Style sheets, that's normally my style sheet here. It's kind of the one that I use for everything. So right now I'm going to leave it blank. I'm still going to include it, and I'm probably going to include it last, so that way I can override anything that I need to in this template. Then I'm going to say @import current directory, and then I have a CSS folder, and then animate.min. And then I'm going to copy that over several times. In Sublime, that's just Command-Shift-D. So here we go. There's my owl carousel, owl transitions, pretty photo. Notice I'm not putting the .css because I don't need to. And then we got the main CSS. And again, this is what we do if we have an existing HTML template to work from. If we're doing one from scratch, it's a little bit of a different story. And then responsive. And then styles. I'm gonna load styles there, just so that way we can override anything that we need to. See if that all compiles. Looks like it did. Whoa, looks like we got some errors here. So let's go to the top part. Looks like it can't resolve some images that are inside of the style sheets here. So we'll have to go and fix those right here. So it says can't resolve grabbing.png. And it's probably a load of other images here. So let's go see where that's at. I'm just going to do a site-wide, do, what is it, grab. So this looks like this is in the owl carousel. If I look in the images. All right, so it looks like Webpack is giving us some errors, and it has to do with the CSS loader that's built into Webpack. So it looks for these images, these font files, and it can't resolve the path. And Webpack works in a way where if we go here, this is the CSS file, one of the CSS files that it's complaining about. If we go here to our app SCSS, we're loading that CSS file in here. So you would think that the path for any pictures from here are relative to prettyphoto.css, which is the one for this theme. Well, they're not. That CSS file is being loaded into the app SAS file. So here's the app SAS file. The images are relative to it. As you can see right here, that's missing this image right here. And one thing I want you to look at here is here in our assets file, those images aren't even loaded yet. So for some reason this errored out, and it's because it can't find that path. So let's go ahead and fix that. I'm going to show you how to fix one, and then I'm going to fast forward the video and show you how to fix the rest. So here I'm going to just select all of these right here. I'm just holding down Command D inside of Sublime. You could just do a search and replace if you want to, and that'll do the same thing. So I selected all the images, and remember, we're talking about relative to the SAS file, not the CSS file, because the CSS file is being imported into the SAS, so now everything is relative to this SAS file. So if I look here, the SAS file, I come up one directory, and then I go into the IMG folder. Notice this is images. So either way, I mean, if you want to name your folder images, you can. I think everything's tied to this IMG folder. So I'm just going to change, and I got the multiple cursor here. I'm just going to change images to IMG. It's coming up one directory from our SAS file. Hit save, and it should recompile here. So let's see what if there's any other new errors here. Actually run again. So see here, notice all these images right here. It's saying that it built all of these images here. And so then we can get on to our next CSS file. If we go over here to the folder, this is our resources. This is our working directory where we're going to be working from. I go over here to this assets folder, images, and notice that it loaded all the images. And it just loaded them here in this root directory. It didn't create a folder or anything, but it's keeping track of that. So everything's loaded as it needs to be. So the next thing I'm going to do is just find the next error and go through the next CSS file and put in all the correct paths, and then we'll continue on with the video. Alright, so it looks like I cleaned up everything that I needed to do. One of the things that I did wrong too is I removed this variables from my app CSS file, and what I forgot that was loaded there was the path to the font files that we needed for our icons. So you see here I put it back, and these leave this kind of in place, and that's already kind of built into the library. So that fixed up quite a bit of stuff, and then we're going to fix up some JavaScript here. Let's go over to the header file right here, and you can see here that we have all our style sheets here inside of your style sheet here. You notice that we still have it missing. Well, it's just because we have it loaded here in the HTML. We can now get rid of it here. Hit save. All those errors should go away. The other thing to note is look how the page is kind of starting to take shape from the CSS that loaded. We can kind of go over that again. So going here to my app.css file. It's inside of SAS. Here, these are all the CSS files that I loaded from the theme itself. We're going to kind of do the same thing for our JavaScript. So here's the main.js file. We can kind of get rid of this right here. And that was just kind of a test that is testing the ES6 syntax. And then I'm going to do the same thing for JavaScript that I did with CSS. If I go down in the footer here, notice all these JavaScript files that we're loading here. Come over here, and I'm going to load it here, and then I'm going to start kind of requiring each of these here in this file. So here we got main, so I'm going to do require, and I'm going to skip Bootstrap in JavaScript for now. If we look here in our Bootstrap file, this is our Bootstrap, kind of like our start. We have Bootstrap SAS, which includes the Bootstrap, and then remember that jQuery is loaded with WordPress. So here, this is one. This one I could probably leave into the, I'll leave this one inside of the main HTML file since it's going out. And then here is the OWL. So we'll go like this, local, and then there's the owl. And remember, this last one was the main theme. I had changed that, so we could change that as well. Get rid of all of this. Run watch again, make sure everything runs, make sure we don't have any errors. I fast forwarded some of that for you guys. I just kind of wanted you to see that last one, that main theme that I added. It looks like everything is running. There's a lot of space here. So let's see what is going on here. It looks like Pretty Photo is blowing up in our face. It says deleting local variable in strict mode. This is kind of the first for me, so we'll have to figure that out. And then I'll let you know what I figured out there. If we go here to our theme here, all of these files right here, notice these are kind of missing here. So I'm going to go over to our footer area. And this right here, we should already be loading the latest footer here. So I could get rid of all of these and then get rid of this as well right here. Save. A lot of those errors should go away. And these are missing images, and these missing images are within the theme itself. So now you see that with this theme, we've tied all our CSS, we've tied all of our JavaScript, and the last thing we need to do is we need to go to this file, and then we need to map all our images and then move them to the correct directory. But this is kind of just an introduction so that we kind of get started with this theme. It's still in development, and there's still work that I need to kind of do on it to make sure that it works for all cases. Thank you very much.